All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third horror game of Spooky Month. Only took me until the 25th to finally get around to the third one, eh? And Fazon, you are indeed first to the stream, the second stream of the day that I've done. Earlier today I did my inaugural poker stream, which didn't go all that great, but a few people enjoyed it, and there may be more to come, and especially since I have the regional in a few weeks. But in the meantime, it is time for Dagon, a free horror game that came out on Steam, I think, very recently. Hopefully you are seeing a weird logo. And here we are. This is Dagon, a free game on Steam, which apparently is based on, quite extensively, a story by H.P. Lovecraft. Now, obviously, quite a lot of games over the years claim to be Lovecraftian inspired, or take some parts of Lovecraft's lore. But apparently this game is a very accurate recreation of the events of that novel. Now, I have not read the original novel Dagon, so I won't be able to corroborate that myself. I do actually have a collection of Lovecraft's works, the Necronomicon collection, to read at some point. So, plot twist, it's a typo and it's actually Dagon, a game about a doggo going home. Oh, so I should show up since I'd spoil everything. Yeah, I don't actually know the actual tale of Dagon, but I generally get the gist that it's going to involve Elysian geometry, things coming from underwater, elder gods, mindfuckery, and lots of things we don't understand, and the unknown is the scariest thing in mankind, blah, blah, blah. Lovecraftian stuff. Thank you for the host of the 25 bits, Lord Misfits. How are you doing this afternoon? It appears that there are DLC packs, so I assume that the reason that this game is free is to entice you to play the DLC if you like it. Well, I doubt I'll be playing the DLC because I have a lot to do, but what the heck, a free game is a free game. So, I don't know how long this is going to be. I don't quite know what kind of game we're gonna get. I assume we're probably gonna get some kind of sneaking around, avoiding things type game. I don't know. Or it's like Life is Strange and only episode 1 is free, but you need to pay to actually finish the game. Yeah, it could be that, and if that's the case, this game would have to impress me quite a bit, because I didn't realize episode 1 was free as Life is Strange. Not that I'll ever play that game. For one thing, I know the ending, and for another thing, that game looks fucking... So it's just a waste of a cool concept. That's the thing I find really awkward about Life is Strange, seeing the gameplay of it. They have this really cool idea, and they fucking just turn it into a generic teenage girl drama bullshit. You know, like, they could have made an interesting version of Donnie Darko, the game, but they instead went for teenage angst, and I just so happened to have time travel powers. The gameplay's okay, the story kind of lets you down by episode 4. I just couldn't stand to even hear the characters. They sounded awful. They nailed a style, and I hate it. It's absolutely god-awful. The characters, the way they speak is annoying. I just couldn't stand it. It was like watching a bad reality show or something. I'm talking about Life is Strange. The game has a cool idea, but essentially has annoying characters in it. I don't know about the second game or the new one that's come out, but I saw them and they don't look any better. You know, The second game seems to shove quite a lot of politics into it, and the third game just doesn't seem appealing at all. Well, the whole idea of time travel, but a teenage girl acquires the ability to use time travel to go back into time, slightly, you know. It's like the combination of science fiction meets a teenage high school thing, and the idea of experimenting with it and really seeing the implications and, you know, the horror it could invoke, you know. And I think she does experiment with her power a bit, but it essentially, from what I've seen, it just seems like it's just high school bullshit with an extra sci-fi element. You know? And apparently the only meaningful decision is right at the end of the game and nothing else matters. Whatsoever. So what's the point? Anyway, I'm not here to talk about Life is Strange because I think I've never played it. I've only ever watched it, but I don't need to. I can't stand the characters in that fucking game, so... yeah. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever watched Donnie Darko. I loved that film. Donnie Darko was great. Such a good film. It's sort of a similar thing, although, well, except it's a little different in that there's not like a direct manipulation, but a guy has this thing, he sees stuff, he has a 28-day timer, and it's the idea of alternate universes, and it's like, take your typical high school sort of coming-of-age drama and stick a science fiction element in it that somehow just works. And it's just a cool mashup. Cthulhu for Dagon. Yes, we might be getting some Cthulhus and Fatagans indeed, well, Tracer. How you doing? It's time rewind to the right manipulation plus speeding up, slowing down other things. Yeah, it's a rewind, not manipulations. And she can only rewind so far before she gets a headache or something. Right, so anyway, I'm going to check if we have subtitles, sounds, 100% voice source 85. There's a reason for that, or whatever. Okay, well, I trust there'll be subtitles. Let's hope so. Alright, let's play. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the... Oh. It's one of these games. The walking sim type, possibly? Okay, well, walking sims can be fine. Occasionally. This is a free game. Might be good.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Oh man, you're starting to have a tough day, man. Can I move? Nope. Do kind of like the way that we immediately cut from the title screen straight into it. That was kind of cool. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey, others will be interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the old... Oh boy, that could be interesting. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Sign. You can also access all the found fast play that will be there in the main menu. Okay, sure. Thanks. Look for Elder Sign. Got it. What is this, New Vegas? We start with our dev. But the Dagon movie. Oh yeah, I think I saw that. The one that's set in the Spanish one, right? I think the one with the... Yeah, I've seen that movie. That movie was actually pretty good.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Please don't do that, sir. You have so much to live for. Ow.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
Okay, I saw an Elder Sign, but I couldn't do anything with it. Will you sign my petition?
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
I wanna... Can I... Okay. Oh, okay. So now I can see it. Morphine. I got an achievement, the Seeker. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, and World War I, 1940. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrich Saturner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the US. Yeah, I can imagine. I imagine that probably still persists today in some lesser circles. Right!
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
So, we're not allowed to move around freely, but we can look around a bit in a slight angle. Oh man, I thought this was going to be like a full 3D moving around game. Hey, I saw that. Lovecraft and the Great War. Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its cause. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and coming in events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentions in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlistment despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I chose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain me till a bullet or piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. Where's the Reinhard Kleiner? Wow. That's dark. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She is threatened to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which unfit me for the army. I am Providence, the wife at times appears to be oppressed, said Joshi. Okay, that's interesting. By the way, fun fact, do you all know what Lovecraft called his cat? I'm not allowed to say it on stream. Look it up. He called his cat something.
Was then at its very beginning,
pretty infamous.
And the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
No, don't! So, this is not even a walking sim. This is a visual novel, almost. I can look around a bit. Ooh, I did not expect. Oh my god. I mean, okay. I wanted on the story, but I was expecting an actual game. But that's what I get for not checking. Still, it's free, so, you know, whatever.
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Yeah. Graphics do look quite nice, though. The Huns. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick range who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early sieged weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on 27th of July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited, just as 1,000 years ago the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. My own opinion, but good is more for stopping him. Yeah, without that, we wouldn't have all this cool horror shit. Yeah, Lovecraft's early life convincing me was weak and unfit for most of anything, which is only what made him write his books. Yeah, I couldn't believe that Lovecraft cat fat either, but until I saw it myself. Russian army when I was in slavery.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Okay. Well, yeah, it definitely was. I mean, things were very different in the 1900s. And that's the problem that some people have. Comparing historical standards to nowadays is a bit weird. You know, we've moved a long way since then.
When I finally found
we got an achievement! Solitude and Unbroken Blue!
I had little idea of my surroundings.
I only have 2 achievements. There's only 6 in the game. I swear to God, if this game is an hour long and I have to buy the DLC to finish the story. Anyway. So he's finally free from this captive of the...
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Yep.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing. And no island or coastline was in sight.
So looking for hidden stuff too, if we can get it. That's our involvement. Look for the hidden stuff, you know. Are there any hidden elder signs so we can get some tidbits? Fish. They're coming, Wild Tracer. They're coming. Don't worry. They're on the way, I'm sure.
Fair. And for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Escape the captors. That's what that achievement was. We escaped the captors by pressing buttons. Hey, I see that. To return to short stories. Dagon was written in July 1917 and first published in 1919 in The Vagrant, an amateur magazine focused on the supernatural. The story is the first of his stories that introduced an element from the Cthulhu mythos, Dagon itself. A pagan cult worshipping Dagon later appears in The Shadow over Innsmouth, one of Lovecraft's most popular works, and one which about 1,000 people games based off. 1917 is also the year when he wrote The Tomb, a story about Jervis Dudley, a daydreamer who discovers a mysterious mausoleum in the woods by his house and becomes obsessed with it. These 2 works mark Lovecraft's return to short story writing after he burned most of his attempts at the genre 9 years prior and decided to concentrate on poetry. Lovecraft stated that it was his friend, William Paul Cook, a literary publisher and critic, who convinced him to start writing weird fiction again. Such escape, wow. Yeah, we listened to a story. This guy had to go through 5 days and then snuck on a boat. We just went through 5 sentences. I'm not quite feeling the connect there between this guy's plight.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Praise the sun!
The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know. For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Oh. Now we're getting somewhere. Oh my god. Can I move around? I can't move around. I want to explore. Look at that.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air, and in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
I will admit, though, the person narrating this has a decent voice for it.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
I kind of feel like there should be a weird sort of visual effect happening with all of this. But, anyway.
There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Except for that bit there, but, you know. I saw a question. Oh, you kidding me? I missed one?
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
Oh well, I missed some facts.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
Righto.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
No elder signs. Oh, hold on, there's that. The mystery of volcanic islands. Volcanic eruptions sometimes result in the creation of islands. Most of them are transient and erode after some time, but some prove permanent. The floating pumice, porous rock created when superheated pressurized rock is ejected from a volcano, can move across long distances and transport barnacles and macroalgae that cling to it. In 2001, rafts of pumice created during the eruption of a volcano near Tonga, Polynesia, eventually reached Australia. Deceit them all.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
So he just sat in this weird inkiness for ages.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Okay.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Fair enough.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
You see, at this point, this is where I'd like to be able to walk and explore.
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
I thought your goal was to, like, leave and find land. I don't think there's a unknown about that. Oh, there's a little sound cue when you press on each thing.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation
mist
on the rolling desert.
Yeah, but there's no puzzles, Pinchy. This game is literally, we're being told a story, we can click some things to find facts, and we just progress. This is literally a story. A very nice looking graphical story, but it's not a game, really. But I've never read this story before, so I am quite intrigued a little bit. Got some weird light effects going on here. Oh, I thought that was a elder sign or whatever. But it isn't. Like, I see this landscape and I'm like, I want to walk in this freely. I don't want to be going from spot to spot. It's like, I want to walk. Is that a whale? Myst is an actual adventure game. Yeah, this is not even a visual novel. This is just... I don't know what you'd call this. Like, it's a story. Visual novels have choices and occasional puzzles. This one's just a story with some graphics attached to it. A guided tour of a story. A guided tour of a game that could have been, you know, wouldn't it be nice if you could walk around and look at it yourself?
And on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
You poor person. Ooh. The horrors of the ocean. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underwater city of Valar was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, or 26,000 feet, below the ocean's surface, in never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures, such as the anglerfish, the fangtooth, or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Yeah, deep-sea creatures are really freaky looking. The graphics look so good on this, though. Probably helped by the fact that we don't get to move around the place. It makes me wish there was an actual walking game where we could explore such landscapes like this. Well, I used to own Myst when I was younger. Myst was great, but very difficult. I never actually finished it.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound,
I got stuck.
which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
And a lot greener too, it would seem.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
I'm half expecting something to appear at the top of the hill and like spook
I
him.
know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Why the dreams were bad? No, I can't imagine why the dreams might be bad. I have no idea. Oh man, strange landscape, weird rotting fish. I was on a boat in the middle of the sea. Oh, bad dreams. I can't explain those. Ooh, no. What could possibly happen?
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
I can't even see anything.
I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost.
No sign in the moon. I can't actually reach up to it, so I guess I've lost the chance if
hideous
it was
climb
there.
through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Wow, I've got this weird boxy lens flare.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
Yeah, I was going to say, sure, walk around every day in them up, but be surprised about bad dreams.
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
How you doing, Goofy? Yeah, convenient rocks in the middle of the
Urged
rotting
on by
soil.
an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
Oh, there's some kind of a square structure ahead.
Gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated.
Except the moon, apparently.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Ooh.
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Monolith. Maybe. Oh, I thought that might be one of the signs, but no. It is not. Keep walking.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Get out of here, stalker.
The moon, now near the zenith,
Whoa.
shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me, and unlike anything I'd ever
There he
seen in
is.
books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain.
Including what looks like a cacodemon sort of thing. Well, a flying head. I mean, look, it's got like 6 eyes and floating tentacles. I guess less cacodemon and more like beholder type.
It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings, the Mounds of Madness in the Name of the City, journals and characters' notes, which are coded out of time, the Horrors of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, the Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, Ego in the Whisper and Darkness. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories could also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order not to spoil the ending.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré.
What's a doré?
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be
Hey, Corn King,
well.
how you doing?
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint, grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
Oh, referencing the authors, huh?
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging
creepy
eyes,
faces,
and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it. With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Uh-oh. Oh my god!
It darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith.
Oh no!
About which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Oh my goodness!
I think I went mad then.
Think you went
Of
mad?
my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat.
Fishhook!
A little.
I think I went mad then.
I believe I sang a great deal, and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Man, whenever these things get modeled or depicted in any tangible way, they
When I
lose so
came
much
out
fear
of the
potential.
shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
That was probably about as good as you get it, though. But you are right, Fazon. In terms of Lovecraftian, the main scary element is not seeing them in person. It's the imagination, the unknown is the greatest horror. So the less you see is the better, but that generally applies to any horror thing. The less you see or know, the more scarier it is.
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean.
But particularly with Lovecraftian stuff, it's all about, you know, the moment you see one of these things, you go crazy.
In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention.
It was 17 or whatever this is. No one took you seriously. You're lucky not to be thrown into asylum, probably.
Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
I mean, imagine you saw all that after you'd come off a shipwreck. Would people believe you now? I mean, some people would probably post it on Twitter, it'd be like a viral meme or something, but no one would believe it. The journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. Amateur journalism. Okay. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again. For the first time since his teenage years, Dagon, published in 1917, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this example excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explained his attitudes towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the Conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is, or can ever be, above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. Sadly, I fear he is not wrong. Yeah, the Thing is pretty scary, the call out of space. Yeah, the fear from that is like, you know, it's just so disturbing. It's body horror. It remains disturbing because it's disgusting. A lot of the things that, like, the Lovecraftian stuff is this, you get this build up to this monument creature, and the moment you see it, it's like a burst of horror, and you get used to it.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist.
Yeah, exactly, Fazon.
And amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Why must you disturb me in my office? Dagon, was the main entity of the deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquest. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in a Sumerian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretations of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an unwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Yeah, the fear of the unknown. Probably why some people don't want us to go into space. But we need to go into space. We must find the unknown. And chainsaws and Apache attack choppers.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Oh no, he was hopelessly conventional. We got another achievement, Cosmic Horror Scholar. August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works for his company, Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine, Derleth was a devout Catholic, to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. Trust me, you don't need someone to do the good versus evil doctrine for that. Many people often misunderstand and misrepresent historical things because we don't see it through the same lens as people at the time did. That will happen with, in 70 years' time, people are going to look back on our obsession with Among Us and ask what the fuck were people doing, for instance. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft, actually in 70 years' time, people are going to look back at our internet and say, what the fuck were we thinking? It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Among Us? So, he sort of kept it alive, but he sort of added his own stuff to it. Huh. Interesting. That is, Oh, well, the achievement was to find half of the trivia pieces hidden in the game, so I guess we're gonna... Well, I don't know if we'll get all of them now. We'll see. Mongu! SAS is pretty scary. What are you looking at? Oh, it was time for me to get going. What was the point of that? Was that just leaving gradually? Oh, I stared at the clock.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Okay. Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco, even though he used to smoke when he was 12, in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claimed that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated the 13th of February, 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor, and I never intend to. Having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favour of prohibition, the prohibition of any one antisocial force, as well as of any other. Source of spirit of a vision was classified to Celia Brown, wow, so he was all for prohibition. Okay. It brought to mind.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Oh, wow. That's quite an image there. Oh my god, look at all those things. It's like an army of Godzillas ready to take New York. An army of them. Cool.
The end is near.
Oh god. god, squelch, squelch, squelch. Oh, the door's being... Oh, the door's getting rammed open.
I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Uh-huh. Oh no. We're in trouble now.
It shall not find me.
Oh. Oh no. It's coming in.
God, that hand!
Oh no.
The window! The window!
Wait, that's it? Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate it if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out our other games and DLCs. How much do these cost, by the way? £4. They cost £4. Oh, okay. Well, apparently the Eldritch Box DLC contains ebook version and audiobook versions of this story alongside some official wallpapers. And the last achievement was From Madness to Oblivion, Escape the Madness. And the last achievement was to find all the trivia pieces. And the Little Glass Bottle DLC, which hasn't actually released yet, is get a glimpse into Lovecraft's mind at 7 years old. Embark on an adventure during your coffee break. The game can be completed in less than 10 minutes. Learn interesting facts about the author's own childhood. The experience Lovecraft short story for a fully voiced 3D game. Support our future narrative projects. And it's not actually released yet. So basically, the DLC is, do you want an audiobook version of this with some wallpapers? And do you want to play a 10-minute game sometime in the future? Yeah, leave feedback. My feedback is, where was the game? Okay, to be fair, okay, no, I'm not going to read this. This game is free after all. Great selling point, less than 10 minutes. At least there are no extensions of this story locked behind paywalls. Yeah, apparently there is... Oh man, I fucking missed the one at the very beginning. And then there was... Yeah, I seem to have... Oh, there was one on the clock too. Took one in the wall also. So I actually quizzed quite a few that were hidden. Yeah, I think I missed... Well, I got half of them, but I missed like about 5 or 6, I think. Well, that's Dagon. That was a game. A very short one. Let's see how many we actually... Oh, wow. We missed... Oh, my God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 pieces of trivia. We missed 9 out of 20. Oh, what's this one? Tales of Herring Lake. It's also coming soon. Apparently it's a fishing game with some mystery in it. More fishing. Danger. It's a fishing game. It's an interactive fiction that's where you can fish. Fishing for Eldritch God. Let's fish up some deep lawns in Louisiana. Oh my goodness me. Oh, God, man. Well, interactive fiction, I think this is what we can call this. I was expecting something else from this experience. I was expecting like a 3D game that maybe lasted 2 hours or something. And this was played for about 50 minutes. Maybe less, actually. Have you played the original Alone in the Dark? I tried to play the original Alone in the Dark a few years ago, and I just couldn't get the controls down. I tried it for an hour or so. I hated it. The controls seemed so awkward, but it was interesting. When are you going to play Sucker for Love? Yeah, they went missing in the movie Jaws. People wouldn't swim in the ocean afterwards. Oh, I'm really sorry, everyone. I was expecting this to be actually quite creepy. In a way, it was interesting. I won't say it was a boring story. I was just perhaps expecting a full 3D game, not a bunch of screens where everything looked nice. Like, seeing these graphics and the story, I wanted to walk around freely and, like, explore and bounce and shit. I'm sure there's probably a game where I could do that, but this was not to be the game. But, you know, it's free, I guess. It's free, it's interesting enough, I suppose. Can't really complain about a free game offering at least a 50-minute tale. Yeah, well made for visual stories. You just kind of... really does make you want to wish you could actually play a game with that stuff, though. But anyway. Yeah... some scope of navigation might be nice, but I don't think that was never the intent. It was just to tell a good story, and they did that. And have some trivia about Lovecraft along the way. What's not to like? What's not to like? It's called Strange Aeons in Jeezy, dude. Yeah. Well, I wasn't actually expecting this stream to be over quite so quickly, but here we are. It's over. They are making another game, Fishing, Tales of Herring Lake, and a Little Glass Bottle DLC. So that is that. That's Dagon. Yeah, I guess, sure. Let's uninstall that and never look back. Great white seen off coast of Hawaii longer than a 30-foot boat was on the TV news. Dagon? I guess Dagon makes sense. Right, well, alas, that is the end of the stream for tonight. I'm sorry it was quite a short one, but it is what it is. I'm not actually sure what's going to happen next now. I'm sure there was something else I had in mind, but this was one of the things. What was the other thing I had in mind? I don't know. I don't actually know what the streaming plan's going to be for the rest of the week. My mum is... if my mum doesn't get diagnosed or checked out tomorrow, she's planning to discharge herself from the hospital because she's fed up of waiting. So she might be home tomorrow, and if that's the case, then I don't know what my streaming availability is going to be like. I know I won't be streaming on Wednesday because I'll be out playing poker. I might not be, depending on how things go, I might not be available on Thursday either because I plan to play another poker game then. And I don't really know how the rest of the week's going to go. It really depends, again, on what happens when my mum returns, what kind of assistance she needs, whether she goes to bed early, whether I have to help out a lot, as I have been doing. You know, streaming is currently all over the place. I will be making a decision as to some things for streaming later this week, because I will need to make some decisions because there are some things coming up that I need to sort out. Obviously, Iron Man, playtesting, projects, and just the general streaming state of the channel. But I'll let you know as soon as possible. Iron Man? Yeah, the Iron Man. I do the Doomworld Iron Man League and the Uncle Bowl. I have some things ongoing. Well, actually just that. And as I said, I don't know when I'll be able to next stream, is my point. So, we'll see what happens, I guess. I don't even know what game I'd play next for Horror Month. There is, I might start The Letter, because it's a visual novel, it's scary, and it is on my to-do list. I might do something else, I don't know. I really don't know anything until I know that I can actually just stream. I don't want to start something and then I'm suddenly unable to stream for like 2 weeks or something. So I'm really sorry about all this uncertainty, everybody. I know it sucks. Sucks for me too. But I will let you know as soon as I can as to what my stream is going to be like. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you had some fun tonight. If you are interested in what you saw, again, there is a link for you if you're curious to check it out yourself. We are going to raid... we raided Tezzero earlier. It looks like Deetsaw is... Hold on, who else is about? Let me see if anyone else is live. Sounds like there should be a few more people about doing some stuff. Let's have a look here. Oh, that's interesting. The Evil Within 2. Well, we'll give that a shot. Was it? A word-for-word copy, huh? Alright, we're going to raid The Loneliness. The Loneliness is playing Evil Within 2, which I believe may constitute an actual scary game, or at least has a lot of action in it. So, thank you for watching. I don't know when I'll be able to catch you next time, but I hope to see you soon. Have a good evening, and stay safe, and remember, Cthulhu for Dagon, don't trust the water.